Welcome to the Fix My Fees podcast, where merchant processing is so boring that we bring on exciting and interesting entrepreneurs to keep you entertained and educated. I'm Preston. I'll be your host for tonight. And today we have a guest who is not only a multiple 8-figure growth operator, but he's also my friend. Ryan Bland, welcome to the show, brother.
Yes, sir, man. It's been, I'm glad we're able to do this. It's been a long time coming, so glad we're here.
It really has been. And like you said earlier, this is our first time actually sharing a face-to-face, but we've been building this friendship for years. Take us back to the start of where we met, where you were in your journey then, and how far you've even come since that point, back in 2019?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It's very interesting because it was at a point where I was, in a pathway that I was in. I wasn't very happy with it. And I wanted to get into this like online space. Okay. And so I'm basically in this middle of this jump where I'm like stuck here, but I got to stick it out. And I see this new life. And I'm just like, I have no idea like how to get to it. Okay. And just like the universe always does, the right people come into your life during those times. And you happen to be one of them. And, here we are, years after. So yeah, it's cool.
Man, I can definitely appreciate that we were brought together for the right reasons, and this could possibly be one of the great reasons. Yeah. But an impression that you left on me when we first met, and I see that today, is that you're somebody who thinks in systems. You're very organized. What does that look like for you?
So I used to not be actually very organized. I used to be like all over the place. I give credit to my dad and my granddad for that. I remember when I was like a kid, I always had these grand ideas. I would always make these like mock businesses for my dad. Okay. Like the full plan. I'm talking like, I had the website ready, a full plan written out. I had lists of our investors, like all this stuff. And I was very unorganized with the way that I did things. And I remember my dad was very, very heavy on, you plan for today. You don't plan for tomorrow, the next week, the next month, the next year. When I looked at his business, he was very, very detailed oriented. And at the time, it looked like very small things that didn't really matter. Now that I'm in business, I understand that, details, that's where the profit is made. That's where the real growth is made. So it's really forced me to have to get, organized. I have teams now. I have a family now. There's a lot of responsibility. Right? You can't go about that just at a whim, right? You have to have systems for things. You have to be organized. You have to plan ahead for things. So yeah, I give credit to my granddad and my dad for that for sure.
Well, man, on that note, I can tell that, first of all, the fact that you were young as a child making business plans, pitch decks, listing out your potential investors, that does sound like it had a step in the right direction as far as being organized goes. But it also sounds like you had a lot of great mentorship and leadership in your household. What were some of the other lessons that you learned from your father and your grandfather or other family members?
Yeah, like I'm like the luckiest person in the world. I really am. I got to grow up with my granddad, who was also an operator. He operated a group of Dairy Queen chains. They were like one of the biggest in Texas. And, then my dad comes along and, my dad now builds one of the biggest insurance agencies here in Texas. Okay. And then my older brother comes along and he builds one of the biggest nonprofits. To this day, they're serving, I don't know how many of thousands of athletes and individuals around the world. So I got to look up to all of that. Right. I got to see what it looked like. I got to get a taste of it. I wasn't silver spoon in any way. My dad made it very apparent, I'm successful. You're not. Right. You can go see what it looks like, but you got to go figure that out for yourself. So I had so much that was handed down for me. I got to see what success looked like. I got to see what hard work looked like. Nobody works harder than my granddad. He's not with us anymore. Nobody works harder than my dad, my older brother. We had a lot of sports in our family, so I got to understand what work ethic actually looked like. So again, I got to give all the credit in the world. They passed down so much to me.
Well, that is definitely very heartwarming, first of all, but humble in the same sense. I can tell that you're being very humble because our audience may not know, but you've always been somebody who, I don't think it's fair to say downplays your success, but what would be something that you feel is worth bragging on for the accomplishments that you have had? Because you're standing on the shoulders of giants with amazing leaders in your family, but you've also been making accomplishments yourself. What's something that you feel is noteworthy when the next generation is talking about you?
I'm going to take it back to my granddad, because that was something that I was always taught as a man and just as a son in our family, right? There was a time when he set us all down and taught us what it meant to have the last name Bland, right? And it was all around your legacy, right? You have a responsibility to uphold this legacy and make it bigger. I've accomplished some great things. I don't look at those as really like things that I want to hang my hat on. I have so much more that I can do. I have so many areas that I can be better in. I know that I can accomplish a lot more. They're cool. I kind of look at them as like a little pat on the back, but I try not to really focus on those. I think that sometimes people can have some wins in the short term. They can get really distracted. Wins are cool. They should be celebrated, but that win was yesterday, and this is today. So I don't really have anything yet that I would say, we've done great things. We've been able to, to build two of the biggest creators in their respected spaces. We've built two of the largest YouTube channels in their spaces. We've built a company to the #1 on Whop. We're on the Inc. 5000 list. All of these are great. Our clients have made a ton of money. We've made a ton of money. We've have excellent staff members. But it can be better. It can all be better. I don't want to hang my hat, on any of that stuff.
Man, you are too humble, and I don't want to let the opportunity pass without extracting some insights about those accomplishments for our viewers. So starting with taking an e-commerce business to #1 on Whop, if you walk into a business tomorrow, what's the first thing that you're looking at?
Their leadership. That's the most important thing. I think that too many businesses, they almost like look down on the people that are actually doing the thing. And because of that, at the top, what I notice is there's really not a whole lot of clarity. Okay. On the other side of clarity is communication. So you can't really lead a team and you can't be able to lead and guide people if you don't have clarity yourself, because how are you going to be able to guide somebody? You don't even know where you're going. It's kind of like your eyes are closed and you're trying to tell somebody where to go on a map, but you don't even know where the map is. Okay. So the leadership is really where you have to start. You have to understand, like, maybe this is what we've done up to this point, but where is this actually taking us? Okay. What's like the vision for this company? Are there other offers that we want to, bring into this? The founder is also really important as well. What do you want your life to look like? What speaks to you? What type of business do you want this? And so typically when you go in and you start looking at these, most of those questions are actually unanswered. Okay. So then if you go back to the leadership, how are they able to go and lead, right? There's no way that they can. So it all starts at the top. It doesn't start at the bottom. It starts at the top. And that's usually very hard for an organization because it takes accountability. Okay. A true leader understands how to take accountability. Once you take accountability, you're able to get clarity. Once you get clarity, you're able to go and communicate. And that's where actual leadership comes from. So I would start with leadership, step #1.
That is definitely such a critical piece. And as an operator myself, I think you'll appreciate that in our business with Fix My Fees, we incorporate a clarity compass where we have a compass that aligns our core values, our chief, 3-year goal, what are our non-negotiables? What's our strategic advantages? And if everybody in the company is faced with a decision, but they make it based on our clarity compass, they're able to ensure that it's in alignment with our company's values, our goals and our mission. But you've hired dozens of people, trained dozens of employees. You have a team that's operating at a high level. What is something that is critical for a business to be able to operate without a key man dependency?
Yeah. You have to understand how to do the thing first. I keep giving credit, but I'm going to keep doing it because that's where it came from. My dad and my granddad really taught me this, that, in a business, how are you going to go hire somebody to do a job and you don't even know what goes into that job? Again, that goes back into leadership. How are you going to guide them to do it? So with each, with all of our businesses, I've gone through and I've understand how to do every single one of those jobs. You can't do that for the long term, obviously, but again, to be able to guide a team properly, you have to have clarity on it. So you got to understand what goes into that. And once you understand what goes into that, then you are able to communicate. You're able to document. You're able to create systems and processes around that, right? It's a huge step that most people miss. Okay. It's a critical step. You put that layer in, and then it's very, very easy to then go bring a staff member or a team member or whoever into that layer, right? You understand what goes on. You got full clarity, a full vision. Okay. You understand what goes into the job. You have your everything documented. It's very, very easy to go bring an individual into that structure. And then that sets them up to be able to succeed as well.
I think that's incredibly important. We call that playbooking. It's like, if you can't playbook this process that you're responsible for, you can never expect somebody to replace that deliverable for you. So, man, another touch point that I find great irony in, but I think it's beautiful, is that you dropped out of college after like a day, but now you've also been invited to mentor students at a college at TCU, I believe. One, two-part question is, what are you instilling in that class? And two is, what made you decide to drop out of college?
It is very ironic, actually. I started our session with them. I've been working with them for a while now, of just the fact that I literally went to orientation and I never went back. And now to be back in front of a class teaching it's huge. It's pretty crazy. One of the biggest things that I want for that class is to understand the way to think first. It's very, very difficult to do if you don't know how to think, because then you're just doing to do, but you're not understanding the reason of why we're doing these things. Okay. We've been talking about how to build brands, specifically personal brands, in this class. And a lot of times when somebody wants to build a brand, they jump right into monetization, revenue, right? But they don't really understand the path and the journey of that brand. So with these guys and girls, absolutely killer. We started with the foundations first of our brand, who we are, what we stand for, our non-negotiables, like you had talked about, right? How do we take all of that and how do we go create content around that speaks true to us and our story? That's our competitive advantage. Okay. How do we build trust with our viewers, with other brands? So they don't just come in and see us one time and then leave, but they stay as an actual follower, okay. And then how do we take all of that and how do we actually monetize that properly? Do we launch offers? Do we create our own products? Do we become an affiliate? Okay. It all comes from how do we think, which goes back to clarity. If you understand clarity, then you know how to communicate. Same in content, same in building the brand.
Wow. I bet that those kids are getting extraordinary insights from that. And I think that could be greatly impactful for any of them who choose to run with it. So it's not just about building your brand, but building the foundation of your brand the right way. So I'm excited to see if I could sit in on one of those classes. But for those of us who can't, what is one of those additional key pieces from once you have your clarity, what do you do with it next? Or do you have any questions or prompts that a viewer could ask themselves in order to gain that clarity?
Yeah. We have an SOP for this. We use a worksheet, actually. I'd love to give that to the viewers as well. We do this with every single client that we work with. And inside of that worksheet, there's about 12 questions. It asks yourself questions about yourself. And what you find out about that is you find out about who you are, what you like, what makes you different. And really what you're doing is you're finding your competitive advantage. And so what we do with all of our clients is we take that competitive advantage and we go flip it upside down. And when you go make content now, you're just asking yourselves questions about your stories. And what happens is you build a lot of depth with your audience by doing this, right? We all see the people talking about how to get a viral video, right? And what they do is they go and just see another person that made a video, it went viral, and they just go copy it. They might change a couple words. Maybe they go throw it into Claude or Chat GPT. Okay. You may get some views, but it's very, very shallow. It's a very shallow viewer because they don't really understand who you are. They're just there for the video topic. They're probably not even going to follow. So we want to do the opposite. We want to build an audience with depth, right? And what you learn over time is that when you do have an offer or you have You're an affiliate for a brand, you create your own brand. Because you did it the right way, you build an audience over time of people who think like you, that talk like you, that want to move you. They probably look up to you. They have a very similar story. So when you do make that ask of them, okay, it's a very easy ask, right? It's almost like they've been waiting for it the entire time. So I'll give that worksheet. We'll put that in the description. It's phenomenal. It's very, very easy. Anybody can do it. It tells you a lot about who you are. It'll be the foundation for building a brand for sure.
Man, I first of all appreciate that on behalf of our viewers, but I'm also personally going to go through that worksheet. I think that's going to be valuable for even my own clarity. But you definitely had a light bulb go off for me for the audience members that have an info or a service-based business, but they're feeling stuck. What's the first thing that you would ask or tell them?
I would go look at their data immediately. Okay. It goes back to clarity, right? How can you communicate? So in this case, we are communicating to our audience what our offer is. Okay. Then all of our data communicates to us. Well, you can't communicate if you don't have clarity. So most of these info offers that I look at don't have proper tracking, right? What's your hook rate? What's your VSL rate? What's your conversion rate on that? How many calls are you guys booking from that? What's your cost to acquire a book call? What's your cost to acquire a customer? There's so many data points. So what we do is we go in, we audit all of that tracking, all of their data. Okay. We put that up next to our benchmarks, and we use a traffic light system to do this. It's another SOP that I have. And it essentially will highlight the areas that you need to focus on. So when we talked about leadership earlier, clarity, how to communicate to team members, this shows you where you should put your focus in. So a lot of times in an info business, we just think, oh, we just need more ads. We just need to go run more ads. Well, maybe your VSL isn't the best, right? Maybe your back-end selling systems, you're losing a lot of people there. Okay. Back-end selling systems, meaning, email once somebody actually books from you and the information that you deliver to them. Maybe there's something in your application where you have a huge drop rate. Okay. It's not always just you need more ads, but you can't understand that unless you understand your data. So any constraint that you have to understand your data. You're going to make decisions not based on yourself or your opinions. You're going to make data-backed decisions, okay? So every single day we go in, we look at our numbers, we look at our data, and it'll tell us exactly what we need to focus on that day.
So on the YouTube note, you have built two of the biggest business channels on YouTube, both to number one in their space. What is the most expensive mistake that creators are making on YouTube?
Trying to get famous, okay? You see a lot, these creators that are always talking about views, how to go viral. You look at Mr. Beast, for instance, phenomenal creator, wonderful creator. The way that he understands YouTube is probably to the level that almost nobody probably understands. Okay. Especially in this business world, you have to understand that our job is not to go get famous. Our job is to use YouTube as a step in our funnel. It's almost every video is essentially its own VSL. Okay. I don't want just anybody and everybody watching my videos. I want the right people watching my videos. Because if I use YouTube as a step in my funnel, maybe they come from an ad and then they watch some short form content and then they go over to YouTube, right? I can pre-sell that customer before they ever even book on a call with us. Okay. But if I'm sitting there trying to be the next Mr. Beast, I can't give them the value that they actually need. Right. So when we go about YouTube, we look at our customer first. What are the problems that our customer are facing? Right. What are some of the solutions that we have to actually fix those problems? What are the mechanisms that we use? Okay. What case studies do we have to go put out there? Right. And we break them up in chunks where it gives them a little bit to solve that problem. It shows them who you are. Right? It's almost like a preview of working with you. Okay. And then when your sales team gets an actual call, right? Those people, like I said, they're pre-sold. They already understand the things that you're talking about, right? They have that specific problem. You just showed them exactly how you can fix that, how you fix it for other people. Okay. Your sales team will thank you. So that's on one side of it. On the other side of it, you are demonstrating yourself. Okay. So what I mean by that is when you are using short form, it's very easy to just go fake that. You can go grab a viral video from somebody else. You can go script it. You can hide behind heavy edit. When you're doing something like we're doing right now, or, just a normal YouTube video, it's very hard to go fake it for 20, 30, 45 minutes, whatever that is. Okay. Viewers can see right through that. So this is a great way, without them paying any money, for them to see what you're about, what it's like working with you, how you communicate, your demeanor. Are you low energy? Are you high energy? Okay. They get to see how you communicate, how your dialogue is, right? If you're just trying to sit there and get famous and entertain people, it's very, very hard to be able to do that.
I hope you guys were taking notes. That is a really tangible insight. And I can tell that you obsess over consistency and the signals that you're sending an audience. Is there anything else that you want to add on to that you think to take it home?
I'm going to amplify something that you just said. I talk about this with my team all the time, okay? Especially with our sales team, right? Signals, okay? A lot of this game is optics, right? Everybody has something that's good, right? Especially now, there's so much information that is out there. There's so many talented people. Okay. The best marketing is yourself. So what I mean by that is the way that you present yourself, the way that you present your own marketing, the way that your funnels are laid out. If we're selling Facebook ads, well, I would hope that you know how to run Facebook ads very, very well for yourself. In fact, you should probably be one of the best, right? If we're talking about, we'll help you install a VSL that'll get you, 5 to 10 paying clients a month in less than 30 days. Well, I hope you have a very good VSL and your process is absolutely dialed, because you are signaling to that potential customer what it would be like to work with you. You're showing them the level of quality of work that they will get. Okay. So a lot of this is the optics of it. You are using yourself as the best way to market. Do I understand how to market myself? Do I actually care about the quality that I put out there, right? If I make a claim in an ad, when they get to the lander, is that claim backed up? Okay. Do I have all of my systems that I'm just telling you in my ad that you don't have, and that's why you're not able to scale? Do I actually have those systems? The way that we communicate in our videos, is that how we communicate on calls? Okay. It signals who you are as a firm, as an organization. That's whether you are doing less than 10K a month, you're beginning, you're doing $1 million a month, 10 million a month. Okay. You are your best marketing. You send a signal out to everybody of how you'll care about their marketing. It's the most important thing.
Wow. It's like you are, in essence, not only the product of the product, but you are the advertising. You are the marketing. You are the business. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. Man, this has been already very, very insightful. I'm trying to think of another good question that I could ask you here. So back to being a high-level operator. In my experience of operations, I try to get out and find a bottleneck in a business and then solve it for it. Whether that's implementing a strategic hire, an automation. But with you, what is your process for identifying and solving a business's bottleneck?
Yeah, it goes back to understanding your data. Okay. That worksheet that I had talked about earlier, the class with TCU, everything that my dad, my granddad, my older brother passed down to me. It's all about understanding that clarity, which comes from the details. Okay. And then that allows us to be able to communicate. Okay. The only way to come in, I can say, hey, I've been doing this for years, which I have. I have all of these client results, which I have. I have some of the biggest channels on YouTube and some of the biggest, creators on Instagram, which I have. Okay. But my personal opinion and data, okay, those can be two different things. All right. So if you're always going about it of, oh, this is my opinion, I know that I'm right. Okay. Goes back to the leadership thing, being able to take accountability to understand that, maybe you're not right. You cannot go through and make any type of changes if you don't understand your data. Okay. If people don't have in data to be able to uncover those roadblocks and those constraints, we go through and install proper tracking. That way we're actually able to, and then from that tracking, we get our data, and then we can go make, proper decisions from there.
That's also very insightful. So at the stage where you're at now, after everything that you've helped scale, what does success actually look like to you?
Man, that's a good question. I think if you judge success purely off of financials, which obviously that's important, I have a family, I have responsibility, I have team. So that obviously is important. Okay. You can't do anything without that side, right? The people that say like, oh, money doesn't matter. I mean, that's really crazy, right? Because the only way to pay and provide, you have to have the money. Okay. But purely going off of that, you have to understand the motives, I think, behind that. And that's what leads up to those huge financial gains. Okay. Success to me is fulfillment, loving what you do. You know, we're dealing with clients and numbers and data and tracking. Now we have AI on top of that. Okay. Sometimes it's not the sexiest thing. Okay. Sometimes it's just a spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers on it. So you really have to love what you do. You know, I'm going on 8 years now of doing this. In my heart, with everything that I know, I feel like I've been retired for 8 years. Okay. I love what I do. This is what I want to spend my time doing, right? I get so much fulfillment from this. So the fulfillment, right, is the thing that leads up to those big financial gains, which is obviously the ultimate, goal here. So success for me is, I gotta love what I'm doing. If I love what I'm doing, I'll always have the motivation, the drive, the clarity that I need, the energy that I need, right? If you don't love what you do, eventually the money won't be enough, right? You're going to end up hating that side. Very surprisingly, I've seen it happen. I've seen creators that have made tons of money. Okay. They are the most unhappy people you will ever meet in your life. It's because they have no fulfillment. They don't enjoy the business that has been built. They don't enjoy the content that they talk about, which goes back to that clarity, right? Of starting off on the right foot, on the right foundations. That gives you the fulfillment. And then the ultimate goal, obviously, is the financial gain.
Wow, man, 8 years into this, what is something that you would tell yourself 8 years ago when you first started?
You want everything to be perfect. We get so obsessed over the details. We get so obsessed over the processes and the systems. Okay. Don't be afraid to do. Just do. Just go do the thing. Okay. You are probably going to fail. Back all the way to the beginning when I started drop shipping, even when we had first met, right? I don't know how many times I failed. I failed so much that I ended up winning. Okay. Because during failing, you actually learn things. It's actually not a failure. It's only a failure if you quit. But what I learned was, hey, I failed at this. So now I need to go learn this skill. So now you go learn copywriting. Okay. Then you have another stepping stone, right? Then you hit another bottleneck and it's a failure, but then you learn how to go take that copywriting and make really great ads with it. Okay. Then you learn websites. So you use these failures to start adding things into your tool belt. You start learning more tools, more skills. Okay. And what you learn is those failures are only failures if you quit, right? A failure is just a stepping stone. And it's one of those things where you may take one step back and you can go 5 steps forward. Okay. So maybe if you're watching this and you're beginning, you've had a roadblock, you just don't know what to do next. Just don't be afraid to do the thing. It's not a failure. Okay. The people that are on the top, I promise they fail way more than you do. I promise, right? They fail so many times. It is ridiculous. And it's like the saying that Hermosi says, you do so much volume that it would be unreasonable for you not to win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love that quote.
It's huge.
I think that's really great advice, not only for our past selves, but for anybody listening to this today.
Yeah.
So don't chase perfection, chase consistency and dedication towards your goals, and eventually you'll win. So it's like that imagery of the guy who turned away. It's like the diamond mine and he's right here and the diamonds are on the other side of the wall, but he stopped and turned around. But you have to continue persevering. But
maybe you have another axe in the shed. Go try that axe, right? Maybe your form with that axe is just off a little bit, right? But if you would have not tried one more time with that axe, you're not going to get the diamonds and that's a failure. But maybe your form's just off a little bit. Maybe you need to practice just a little bit more, right? And then a little bit of practice and you see a hole and now you can see the diamond, right? So you can fail to win. You always fail forward.
Incredible. Well, man, this has been very valuable for myself. I'm sure that our viewers will find it valuable as well. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to add on there or any questions that you have for me?
I would just say that, if you're going to do something, this is to anybody that watches this. Okay. If you're going to do something, just do it right. Take the time to go do it right. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. You don't even have to win. Okay. Like we just talked about, you could fail forward, but do it right. Take the time to do it right. If you get a client, take care of those people. Again, my dad, my granddad instilled this playbook in me of take care of the people who take care of you. Okay. And if you do that, right, you will never run out of clients. You will never run out of customers. You'll never run out of team members, opportunity. It all goes back to just having that clarity, understanding how to communicate. Okay. And then just dare to care about those people. If you just dare to care and truly care, not just I have to do this to fulfill my contract, or I have to do this because I need to get this payment because this retainer is coming up, but actually genuinely care about that customer, you're already ahead of 99% of your competition. Okay. I've met your competition. I meet them every day. They're lazy as can be. We'll run circles around them with our eyes closed. Okay. And a lot of that is just because we care a whole lot more than they do. It'll set you apart. That will become your competitive advantage, is that you care about your people enough to see them succeed.
Man, you definitely just inspired another good question for me. And also part of where you mentioned Alex Hormozy, but are there any books, podcasts, YouTube videos that you would recommend to just anybody listening generically about how to get closer to where they want to be in life, whether that's defining where they want to be or closing the gap? Is there anything else that's been impactful for you that you'd recommend to the viewers?
With this content stuff, there is so much going out there. It can almost keep you in a loop. You hear one day to take path A, and then you hear the next day, don't take path A, take path B. Path A is really bad, right? And then magically path C shows up, and so it can cause a whole lot of confusion. One thing that was huge for me that gave me so much clarity, we've been talking about this a lot, is you find that one person. Okay. Maybe you don't understand everything yet, but that one person has done exactly what it is that you want to be doing. Okay. And there's something about them that they just speak to you, right? Follow that one person. Okay. It's very, very easy to go and just create a war chest of all of these different opinions, and it can actually cause a whole lot of confusion. Right? The person that speaks to me, the person that, teaches me, that may not work for you. There may be somebody else, and that is okay, because that person speaks to you and who you are as a person. So I recommend to find that one person. For me, I've had many mentors. I've had mentors for very specific stages. I clinged on to every single thing that mentor said for that stage because I had already seen that they had done that, right? I didn't cloud it with tons of different people. I just went all in with that one mentor. I executed on everything that it said. And then I got to the next stage, and then I found the next mentor for that next stage. So my advice is to actually not go out and just binge watch all of this content. You go find that one mentor that speaks to you, that makes you move, and you follow them all the way. And the next time that you hit another roadblock, you're going to find that next person. Okay. And it just goes back to accountability. Be willing to learn, be willing to listen. Will take you really, really far in life.
That is really solid advice, especially in today's day and age where there's so much noise on the internet. To find the one voice that speaks to you, listen to a variety of voices to find what resonates, and then run with what works. And it'll take you home.
It'll take you home. I'm going to add a little bonus in here. Preston has done so much for me. When we very first met, when we talk about this clarity, he helped me get a lot of clarity. So I want to add a little bonus in that hopefully will help everybody here that has helped me. Okay. When you listen to that one voice, you go get that one person, you take them all the way. All right. Those SOPs, those documents that they have, all of the frameworks and the methods, you take that, you can go give that to your AI, your Gemini, your chat, your Claude, whatever it is. Now you're duplicating that same person. Okay. And you have on-demand responses, and it's pulling from that one source of truth. This is something that we do in our organization. We document absolutely everything. We go feed that to our AIs. And now you're able to sit there and go ask it questions 24/7, and it speeds up that process for you. Maybe, your mentor, you can't get a hold of them, or you don't have a call for another day, whatever it is, but you have this AI and you have all those SOPs. You can sit there and go stress test your own thoughts. And what it does is it teaches you to think like that same person. So little tidbit there, it'll speed up the process. It'll make learning so much more easy. sometimes it can even help personalize it for you as well.
That is really good advice that I've actually been implementing.
Yeah.
So, I've used Claude projects to consolidate information, which is really easy and accessible, GPT projects, but also an Obsidian brain to where all the books I've ever read, all my call transcripts, all my meaningful personal notes, all combined for when I want to ask questions. It can reference, find contradictions and all of that. So no matter what degree you want to take that, take Ryan's advice and run with it, with those consolidating those resources, documenting everything, and utilizing it in a resourceful way.
It's huge.
So,
I mean, these AIs, they're only as good as what you prompt it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the more information that you can go feed it, the better it's going to be for you. And the cool thing about AI is it never forgets. You can always sit there and you can always go pull from that. Think about if you do that while you're going and you're sitting there building your brand or your business or your service, your offer, whatever that is. Okay. Makes it very easy to go document things. Can go ask it things about yourself that maybe you don't even know, right? So that source of truth that you feed is so, so important. Preston can attest to that, obviously. So I hope that little tidbit will help. It's changed how we do everything.
Definitely. So where will our viewers be able to access that worksheet, by the way? Is it something that I can grab a link and hyperlink it in the description?
Yeah, let's just put it in the description. There's no paywall. There's no give me your email and your phone number. This is just an easy link. It'll be in the description of this. You can click on that, make a copy, put that in your organization, go use that with your clients. This isn't one of those things where, this is only my thing, right? This is about helping and giving back. So be in the link in the description down there. No paywall, no email, no phone number. You can just click the link and then you'll get immediate access to that.
That is incredibly generous, Ryan. If any of our viewers wanted to get in touch with you, connect with you, be a part of anything that you're working on, how can they find you?
On Instagram, it's at @rbland. So RBLAND. Social media is what I do. So I'm on there 24/7 and yeah, love to chat. Questions, constraints, roadblocks. Hey, Ryan, I love this. Hey, I didn't love this. Let's chat about it. I'm all for it. So rbland on Instagram. Yeah, happy to help.
Excellent. I will put that in the description as well. And if you are one of our viewers and you feel that you have an interesting or entertaining business and you'd like to be on the show, please don't hesitate to reach out at preston@fixmyfees.com. We would love to hear your story, love to hear your insights and share it with our audience. So Ryan, thank you for sharing all of the above with our audience tonight. I cannot wait to look over this as well and extract some of these insights and improve my clarity and take some action. But thank you very much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me.
Of course, man. You guys have a great night.